Hare Krishna. So we welcome everyone for studying Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. I would like to mention my personal disqualification in teaching this subject. First of all, devotional service itself is out of reach for conditioned souls. But by the blessings of Guru and Vaishnavas, one may get a glimpse of its understanding and practice, opportunity to practice. But despite whatever we may do, our efforts will not be sufficient to develop the needed purity or even realizations to teach this subject. So I apologize for my own inabilities and incompetencies. But I also feel grateful that all of you come without fail and still here. So I feel very encouraged. I pray to Krishna that whatever I speak, I really follow it. And also all of us become empowered to similarly practice pure devotional service in our lives. So this verse which we recited in the beginning, Tasmat Gurum Prapadyeta, is an interesting verse because it also begins with Tasmat, therefore. So therefore, what's the premise here? So anyone who wants to get freed from material entanglement. One of the qualities to practice spiritual life, the very basic beginning prerequisite, is that one should have thoroughly exhausted oneself from pursuits of material happiness. At least one should have theoretical understanding that this just doesn't work. This material shelter just doesn't work. It neither gives me shelter nor pleasure. Repeated frustrations and disappointments. And Tasmat, one who has come to that stage, Gurum Prapadyeta, he should now start seeking shelter in spiritual life, but the beginning of that shelter is through Guru. Jidnyasu, one should now become inquisitive about real principles to be followed, truth. Shreyam Uttamam, one should inquire about that which is ultimate good for oneself. So there is Shreyas and there is Preyas. Immediate benefit and long-term benefit. Preyas is immediate. Shreyas is long-term. So one who wants Shreyas should go and surrender to a Guru. And what is the qualification of Guru? Shabde Pare Cha Nishnatam. He is Nishnata, expert. Shabde, in the theoretical understanding of the Vedas, he has thoroughly learned the Vedas. Especially he knows the conclusion of the Vedas. And Pare means in the transcendental science of devotional service. How to engage oneself in spiritual practices. In that he is Nishnata. So he knows theory and he knows practical and he is accomplished in it. Both. Shabde Parecha Nishnata. And the third qualification, Brahmani Upasamashrayam. He has taken firm shelter of spiritual energy because of which he does not fall down in Krishna consciousness. So, after this first step, begin the later 63 items which are going to be described now, total 64 of them. So in the first chapter we studied that Rushikena Rushikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. To engage our senses in gratifying Krishna's senses is called Bhakti. From this point onwards, 6 onwards, the discussion starts about how to engage our senses. So in the beginning, this practice is going to be theoretical or rather forced till we develop a habit and eventually we develop a relish. But nevertheless, we should continue without fail discharging these items. And this is why the ways to execute sadhana bhakti are now beginning to be described. So chapters kind of 2, 3, 4, 5 were giving like a introduction, or rather the why behind taking to Bhakti Yoga. So we discussed the first stages of devotion, how it begins. All it needs is attraction. Then we talked about eligibility of the candidate. So the eligibility was na nirvinno na ati sakto, as well as not hankering after liberation or fruitive work. So there are ways to execute sadhana bhakti. We will first talk about 20 initial items, 10 of pravrutti, 10 of nivrutti, things to do, things to avoid, and then 44 additional items. So these first 20 are called items of primary importance. The later items are called additional items. Amongst them, the last 5, they are most effective items. So 60, 61, 62, 63, 64. Those are the most effective items. So in this chapter, now we are back into chapter 6. There is only first the listing of all these items without much discussion on any of them. From chapter 7 onwards, the discussion starts about first giving evidences why this item is part of bhakti and approved by the Vedas, scriptures, and then also elaboration on how to practice that item. So this is how we will continue. So in the beginning today, we would like to just peacefully recite and read these how to discharge devotional service items. So Srila Rupa Goswami states that his elder brother Sanatana Goswami compiled Hari Bhakti Vilas for. So this book, Hari Bhakti Vilas, has given all the rules and regulations to be followed by Vaishnavas. Some of them are very important or prominent, but some of them are not so prominent. So in this, from that he has picked up only 64 and given as the best or the prominent ones that are to be practiced. One caution about Hari Bhakti Vilas: that book has so many rules and regulations that if you read it, you may sometimes get discouraged. Right from the way one should take bath or cut nails or those kind of finer details. Prabhupada said to one devotee that if somebody reads this Hari Bhakti Vilas without reference to the Guru's guidance, he will go to hell. I said, why? This is Sanatana Goswami's book. He said he will become a good fault finder in other devotees. When you start seeing everybody, he's not doing this, he's not doing that, and then thus, so one should be careful. So currently we'll stick to the 64 items and we should see them from our point of view, that we are practicing them or not. Whether others are doing, what others are doing is none of our business. Atra Anga Lakshanam. Now from this point it begins that we will mention only the principle and not the detail. For example, a basic principle is that one has to accept a spiritual master. Now, exactly how one follows the instructions of the Guru is a detail. And one Guru's instructions can be different from another Guru's instructions. But that is all detail. The point is one has to take Diksha and cultivate Shiksha under a spiritual master. So this is basic principle. So all these items are pointing a principle, and the many details are not mentioned, and that is where we all will have questions. Like one of the principle is one should worship trees like banyan tree, and you may wonder where is this because we generally don't get to come across banyan trees. So how to adjust that in terms of our practical application, that also will be discussed. So please repeat. From this begins the Atha Angani, the limbs of Bhakti. Guru Padashrayas Tasmat Krishna Diksha Dishikshanam Vishrambhena Guru Seva Sadhu Vartmanuvartanam. So these are most important 4 items that begin the rest of the stuff. Number 1, Guru Padashrayaha. Number 2, Krishna Diksha Adi Shikshanam. Getting initiated and learning, Shiksha, how to discharge devotional service from him. Vishrambhena Guru Seva. Obeying the orders of Guru with faith and devotion. Vishrambha means love mixed with respect. And Sadhu Vartmanu Vartanam, following in the footsteps of other great teachers under the direction of spiritual master. So these first 4 are most prominent, and from here the rest of the other 60 items begin. Please repeat. Saddharma Prucha Bhogadi Tyaga Krishnasya Hetave Nivaso Dvarakadau Cha Gangaderapi Sannidhau. Please read.
Inquiring from the spiritual master how to advance in Krishna consciousness.
Saddharma Prucha.
Being prepared to give up anything material for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. This means that when we are engaged in devotional service of Krishna, we must be prepared to give up something which we may not like to give up. And also we have to accept something which we may not like to accept.
Bhoga Adi Tyagaha Krishnasya Hetave. So we accept or reject on the basis of what Krishna likes. So that is 6th next.
Residing in a sacred place of pilgrimage like Dwarka or Vrindavan.
Nivasau Dwarakadau Cha.
Accepting only what is necessary or dealing with the material world only as far as necessary.
No, that's not yet here. So Nivasau Dwarakadau Cha, staying in a holy dham like Dwarka. Ganga Der Apicha Sannidhau. And if possible on the bank of a holy river. So once upon a time Mula Mutha happened to be a very nice river, and Pune happened to be a very holy place. Happened to be means it was Punya Nagari, and that's the original name of this place where Brahmanas resided and performed Vedic sacrifices. So it's our responsibility to turn them back to be so. Now comes Vyavahareshu Sarveshu Yavad Arthanuvartita Harivasara Sammano Dhatri Ashvathadi Gauravam. Next.
Accepting only what is necessary or dealing with the material world only as far as necessary.
Vyavahareshu Sarveshu Yavad Artha Anuvartita. As long as there is Artha, Krishna's interest involved, that much one should do material dealings. Vyavahareshu Yavad Artha Anuvartita. Next.
Observing the fasting day on Ekadashi.
Hari Vasara Sammana.
And worshipping sacred trees like the banyan trees.
Dhatri Ashvatha Adi Gauravam. So Hari Vasara, very nice name to Ekadashi, the day in which the Lord Hari resides. Hari ka vas jisme. Hari Vasara Sammano and Dhatri Ashvatha Adi Gauravam. So worshipping sacred trees like the banyan tree. So we know that Ashvatthamenam Suvirudha Moolam, earlier discussion in Bhagavad Gita. Ashvatha has been a tree of philosophical as well as metaphorical importance in the Vedas. Amongst all the trees, Krishna says, I am Ashvatha Sarva Vrukshana. I am Ashvatha tree amongst all the trees. Now amongst plants I am Tulsi. We may go there, but currently we are talking the trees and giving due respect to these kind of trees. What that means, we will study in future. Esham atra dashanganam bhavet prarambha rupata. So these 10 items are preliminary necessities for beginning bhakti in regulative principles. So in the beginning, only this much one has to do. So first 10. So when we talk to anybody, we have to first guide them in this 10 direction, in this 10 principles, and not get on their case with other items that they may or may not be following yet. Now these 10 items then further give rise to desire to more advance in Krishna consciousness, and at that time the next 10 items come in picture, which are all nivrutti. These items are don't do items. Sangatyago vidurena bhagavad vimukhairjanaha janaihi shishyadi ananubandhitvam maharambhadi anudyamaha. So the next set is don'ts. What should one not do? So number 1,
one should rigidly give up the company of non-devotees.
vidurena, durena nahi, vishesh rupena. Just like you keep, safe long distance, not just surakshit antar theva, surakshit lamb antar theva. Vidurena. Bhagavat vimukhair janaihi. Those who have turned their face away from Krishna, from such people you be at a long distance. Now we may say, well, we are all the time around, surrounded by all this. What to do? We'll continue the detailing further. But the principle is avoid non-devotee association diligently. Then Shishya Adi Ananubandhitvam. One should not
instruct a person who is not desirous of accepting devotional service.
Anubandhitvam means one who is not liking to get tied up in the loving tie of devotional service. To such a person, Shishya Adi, don't make him into a disciple. Basically it means don't instruct them. Just like we have the 9th offense. So faithless person, if you try and instruct him in the science of bhakti, that's an offense. Then Maha Arambhadi Anudyamaha. Third,
one should not be very enthusiastic about constructing costly temples or monasteries.
Hare Krishna. Where does ISKCON go in this? Good question to ask. Maha Arambha Adi Anudyamaha. Udyama means undertaking. And Anudyamaha. Don't have such undertakings, such as Maha Arambha, where you start huge temples, monasteries. Now our temple in Pune currently costs about 65 crore, and our ashram has got 200 brahmacharis. I guess it is one of the largest body of monks staying in any monastery, I would say. Not just in ISKCON in India, but even other organizations, if you count them, whether they have such a vast, very rare such a thing. So what are we doing? We'll talk about it. The point here is, don't get sidetracked from the main business of purifying your heart and glorifying Krishna. If it is helping you purify your heart and glorify Krishna, you may take up something. But otherwise we are not interested. Bahu Grantha Kala Bhashya. Bahu Grantha Kala Bhyasa. Vyakhyavada Vivarjanam. Fourth,
one should not try to read too many books, nor should one develop the idea of earning his livelihood by lecturing on or professionally reciting Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita.
So Bahu Grantha Kala Abhyas. So we, coming from intellectual background, sometimes have this tendency, and especially with internet things become even more complicated. We start munching, browsing on too many kinds of books, too many kinds of informations. So it's a Bahu Grantha Kala Abhyasa and Vyakhya Vada Vivarjanam. Trying to explain Vyakhya or trying to debate Vada Vivarjanam. So all of us have our own experiences in our beginning or even now, days of Krishna consciousness. We started debating about some devotional principle with someone and we heated our head over it so badly that for next 2 days our chanting was pathetic. Our devotional service became very, unappealing, not so relishable, because that thought of wanting to conquer or defeat was so prominent in the heart. I remember in my hostel days I had many debaters, but one fellow was very special. He would whole day would do only one thing, is to go and search something in the world which he can bring to my notice and then prove to me that how I should not practice Krishna consciousness. So every day he would find also something. One day he found that child abuse case somewhere in the newspaper. So he said, this is all bogus. Another time he came and he said, your Prabhupada Swami says, man never went to moon. So this is bogus. So every day he would find something new, And I also was no less. This is all like juice in life. As soon as he would come and sit down, my boy, let's talk about it. And then debate, sometimes till night, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. My God, so much headache. Why? Because I can't take defeat. Or rather, not just defeat. It's not so much an eventually philosophical issue also. It's just the issue that you have to be logically convinced by my intellectual prowess. So it just goes somewhere else. And bhakti remains vidura. After that, bhakti is arm's distance log. So we all have our own stories, I guess. So we should avoid. Vyakhya, Vada, Vivarjanam. Another is Vyakhya for professional purposes. So now we have these people who speak on Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and they charge huge money for speaking. And then that money generally goes for their personal maintenance. That's another point. It's not the money that goes in the service of the Lord or something. So that is also another danger, because through that one gets caught up. He gets caught up in Kutumba Bharana, maintaining one's material life on the basis of spiritual connections. And one also gets caught up in trying to please the people who are giving him donations. He cannot speak purely what is the truth to them. Why? Because if he tells them the truth, they may say, Hare Krishna, get lost. And then he can't maintain himself. So both ways there is a loss. So if you ever get some money because you became a teacher and somebody gave you something, it's your duty to give it to the temple or to your guru. Not that we think, okay, maybe I became a counselor now and this gift I deserve. Somebody gave me something. Anya devan avadnyacha bhutanudvegadayita seva nama paradhanam udbhava bhavakarita. Oh, I'm so sorry. Vyavaharepi akarpanyam shokadi avashavartita.
One should not be neglectful in ordinary dealings.
Amazing devotional principle. Vyavahare api akarpanya. Karpanya means being miserly, right? Krupana. So we become miserly not just because we don't want to spend money or we want to. Karpanya actually means we do not allow fullness of our consciousness to, or their consciousness to manifest because of our mean-mindedness. We have something that we carry in our mind and we will not let go. And that creates the Vyavahara to become very inexpertly handled in Krishna's service. The classic example of this is that when the BI conference was to be arranged, Bhaktivedanta Institute, the scientific wing of ISKCON, and Bhakti Swarup Damodar Swami was appointed by Prabhupada as the leading devotee for that arrangement. Prabhupada personally sat down with him to discuss and decide how all these Nobel laureates, scientists who are going to come for participating in this conference. Where will they stay? What will they eat? How will we give them gifts? What should be the titles of their speech? How should we, take around those people, to show them the ISKCON quarters as well as the Dham in which the conference was happening. Prabhupada went on to such details, and devotees were surprised, They said, because this was new to devotees. In earlier past, Prabhupada was just, all the science means bogus, scientists means rascals. That was the only language you were talking earlier. And the devotees are wondering what happened. So, what happened is Prabhupada sensed that there is value to this preaching in the scientific world. If they can accept Krishna consciousness, the whole world will take to it. Yes, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was also expert in Yukta Vairagya, in engaging anything and everything in Krishna's service, including Gaon Ka Tamasha. People do Jatra, they call, in Gaon. So, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati would put in front Jatra. From people when come from Navadvip to Mayapur, there were earlier not so many people coming to that birthplace of Lord Chaitanya. So, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati would arrange that on that side of Mayapur's Lord Chaitanya's Yogapitha side, there is a nice jatra arranged. So all the villagers would come in the boats, cross over, and the jatra begins, and the people are going inside the jatra, and they see somebody blowing the fire, and somebody is doing all kind of acrobatics, and people are fascinated by this kind of stuff. And then they would walk around, and then suddenly theme will change to nationalism. That time's hot topic. And there was a whole arrangement of India's map being arranged on several acres of land, and you actually go and visit the holy places in India. So you go to Dwaraka and Hastinapur and Jagannath Puri and Badrinath and all that. People would actually go walking. There are pathways like that, and people would get fascinated. I'm going to visit, and what that dham is, who is residing there, what is the significance in our life, and which all places Gaudiya Matha has its preaching center. That also placed on the map, and people would go walking around like that. And by the time they would get national integration feeling that we are all, this such a huge nation, such a nice spirituality, the last stop would be the Gaudiya Matha's actual preaching. Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. You have to practice chanting Hare Krishna. So by the time the whole thing ended and they sit back into their boat, they are already having mala in their hand, chanting Hare Krishna, going to their home. So you can imagine what kind of long-winded procedure to get somebody to chant Hare Krishna. So, Vyavahare api akarpanyam and shoka adi avashavartita. Next.
One should not be under the spell of lamentation in loss or jubilation in gain.
So, shoka adi, lamentation and jubilation, avashavartita. One should not dwell in shoka or jubilation as if I have become bebas. Avash. अभी कुछ हो नहीं सकता है. अभी मेरा भगवान भी कोई कुछ नहीं कर सकते. That's forbidden in Bhakti Yoga. So shoka adi avashavartita. One should give up over lamenting and also over jubilation. That may become hindrance in our bhakti. So that is another sixth. Anya devan avadnyacha bhutanudvegadayita seva nama paradhanam udbhava abhavakarita. Translation.
One should not disrespect the demigods.
Anya devan avadnya.
One should not give unnecessary trouble to any living entity.
Bhutan anudvega dayita. Udvega means trouble. Anudvega. In Bhagavad Gita also, anudvega karam vakyam satyam priya. So one should not unnecessarily give trouble to any living entity. Next.
One should carefully avoid the various offenses in chanting the holy name of the Lord or in worshipping the deity in the temple.
Seva nama aparadhanam udbhava. Anything that will give rise to seva aparad, nama aparad, abhavakarita. Make that udbhava itself nullified. It's not saying don't commit offenses. It's saying any opportunity that may give rise to an offense, don't participate there. Udbhava abhavakarita. And Prabhupada elaborates both the nama paradhas and dhamma paradhas in his personal discussion eventually. Next, so this is the last one.
One should be very intolerant towards the blasphemy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna or his devotees.
Krishna tadbhakta vidvesha vinindadi asahishnuta. So these are the 10 items. Krishna tadbhakta vidvesha ninda adi asahishnuta. One should not tolerate vidvesha, somebody being envious, and vininda, committing blasphemy of Krishna as well as his devotees. So finally says Vyatireka Tayamisham Dashanam Syad Anusthitihi. Without following the above mentioned 10 principles, one cannot properly elevate himself to the platform of sadhana bhakti. No discussion yet bhava bhakti. Or devotional service in practice. Question. Which will give rise to misleading interpretations and useless debates.
Reading less books, I mean, either it doesn't mean, whether it means that reading less books and we should do some in-depth chapter around on those books and can understand the rather than going to too many things, philosophies or understanding concepts.
Yes. So there are two kinds of books we will come across. There are books that endorse or nourish the Shuddha Bhakti Lata Bij in our heart. And there are books that endorse or nourish Karma Bija, Jnana Bija, Yoga Bija, the seeds of desires for these items in our heart. So when we say Bahushastra Bahuvakya Chitte Brahma Hoy Sadhana Sadhyadika Nahika Nirnay. What are we talking about? The second type of books, Bahushastra, Bahuvakya, to try and study too many books. And Bahuvakya, there are various authorities in various fields and they have their opinions. Like you have hundreds of people giving hundreds of opinions about so many things. Bahushastra, Bahuvakya. Chitte Brahma Hoy, consciousness become completely bewildered. Sadhana Sadhyadika Nahika Nirnay. So what is the sadhana and sadhya? One cannot make proper ascertaining of these two items. So this is one part. But then the same Chaitanya Charitamrita also says, Siddhanta boliya chitte na karaha alas, iha haite krishne lage sudrudha manas. So when we are talking about Siddhanta, don't be lazy in the matter of studying scriptures. Don't na karaha alas. Iha haite, by practice of proper study, discussion of Shastra, Krishne lage sudrudha manas. Your consciousness will become fixed in Krishna. So there is both. One is to be avoided and another is to be practiced. So not only we should study all Prabhupada's books thoroughly well, we should also study books of Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami like Bruhad Bhagavatamrut. And Prabhupada wanted our devotees to be so studious about them. Yes, in general, we must respect the right of another to choose what they wish to do about their spiritual life. Unless we have such a deep relationship with them where we can tell them that these things are dangerous and these things are to be followed. But in general, people will explore and we cannot stop them by our forceful preaching or something. We can only mention to them, just like I mentioned just now, there are two kinds of books. One nourishes this, another nourishes that, and you should be careful about what you are nourishing when you study. Because studying basically means you are lending your consciousness to be influenced by the words or consciousness of that other person. Just like we are studying Rupa Goswami, so we are lending our consciousness to him and we will become influenced by his words and his consciousness. And it is natural to happen when we study. In general, should we not as devotees know a lot other things other than just bhakti? Because otherwise we may be made ullu. We may be not so smart, So again, the question is, what is your vision? And what is your service that you are performing? So if the vision is very clear that this is the direction I am going, for example, I want to become whatever kind of, but the best possible educationist in service of Prabhupada. So I want to grow in that direction. So even if I study something, I would ask myself a question, how does this add value to my service? Is this fulfilling the ultimate vision that we have? So in that context, one can study. If the vision is not clear, and also our own Krishna consciousness is not very yet strong, we better not study certain things because they may actually make us take a long detour. And then Krishna also says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante. He said, Jnanavan. Who comes? Actual Jnani. Mam Prapadyate. So why should we take such a detour? That's the question. Any other point on this discussion? So we are clear with 20 items. Now we go to rest of the 44 items. Yes, I will discuss details later, how to exactly go about it. It basically begins with at least respecting the sacred trees that we have, and it also goes to actual worship of Ashwatha. So how to do that we will see soon. So in this way, altogether Srila Rupa Goswami mentions 20 items. All of them are very important. Out of the 20, first 3, what were they? Guru Pada Shrayas Tasmat, Diksha Shikshadi, and then Vishrambhena Guru Seva. These 3. These are the most important because they give rise to the rest of the other items. So Guru offers the connection to Krishna through these other items. Now comes not so preliminary but important activities. Dhrutir Vaishnava Chihnanam Harer Namaksharassya Cha Nirmalyadescha Tasyagre Tandavam Dandavannatihi. First,
one should decorate the body with tilaka, which is a sign of a Vaishnava.
Dhrutir Vaishnava Chihnanam. So one should decorate one's body with Vaishnava Chinha. So how many of you know how to apply tilak to 12 parts of your body with the mantras? So those who did not raise their hands, they have a homework to do. So please go and figure that out. How to apply tilak on 12 parts of the body with the proper mantra. Om Keshavaya Namaha, Narayana Namaha, Madhavaya Namaha, Om Govindaya, ityadi. So you should know the limb and the mantra, and by this you become armored. Abhedya Kavach. Simply seeing these chinnas, Yamadutas will not approach you, knowing you to be a servant of Vishnu. And also these chinnas remind us very strongly that this body belongs to the Lord. It's the Lord's temple, and I should not misuse this body. So Dhrutir Vaishnava Chihnana. Next, the idea is that once, as soon as
The idea is that as soon as a person sees this mark on the body of a Vaishnava, he will immediately remember Krishna. Lord Chaitanya said that a Vaishnava is he who, when seen, reminds one of Krishna. Therefore, it is essential that a Vaishnava mark his body with tilaka to remind others of Krishna.
This is an interesting preaching method. As soon as you have tilak on your face, the others say, "Hey, Hare Krishna aa raha hai." Preaching. They chant Hare Krishna. Okay. Then next, in marking such tilaka,
Tilaka, sometimes one may write Hare Krishna on the body.
so Harer Namaksharasya cha. So not only you put the chinha, the tilaka, but you also write Hare Krishna on your own body. You can write it whichever part of the body you can. So it's a very weird example, but generally when boys fall in love with some girl, they take the blade and kind of some name they will write, and they feel proud, looking at that, as if some Ashtasattvic Vikaras manifest in them. So love is exactly madness. So the idea is here that we are lovers of Radha and Krishna. And we should not waste our life doing stupid things. We should do the real thing, connecting everything with Krishna. So permanent tattoos. Actually, Vedic culture, I have not seen tattoos which are permanent, but I have seen a lot of mehndi work and those kind of stuff where tattoos are common. In general, in Vedic culture, non-permanent tattoos were quite in vogue. They were part of the culture. Permanent tattoos are not allowed. I'm just consulting scriptures in my head, going through all the.
There was some such debate in the past.
Yeah, so tattoos are allowed, yes. Permanent tattoos of what? That's also a good question to ask, because people draw some dragons and some ghosts or all kind of things on their body, but they just write maybe Gauranga or whatever, and sometimes that is also a reminder or a body mark that you can preserve in case of identification needed. So I don't want to get into details, but the point is, in general, what is being written is important, and also Vedic culture kind of endorses the variety aspect. So if you are happy just having one name all the time, fine, but other times you can have Radha, another time you can have Gopal, Govinda, you can have a lot of tattoos of different kinds. So that's another way of looking at it. Maybe I'll do a little more study on permanent tattoos and come back in the next class. What is ISKCON GBC stand on per tattoos? so that will become another topic to have. Okay. Nirmalyadescha tasyagre.
One should accept flowers and garlands that have been offered to the deity and the spiritual master and put them on one's body.
Nirmalyadescha. So one should happily, as soon as a Maha Garland, Maha Prasad, Maha Chandan, Maha Tulsi, Maha whatever comes across, one should immediately accept with folded palms. Somebody says Maha Prasad चाहिए क्या प्रभु जी? ऐसा जनरली हम ना नहीं बोलते, लेकिन कभी आपको कुछ काम है, सेवा करने जाना है, डेटिस का वर्शिप वगैरह, you can't eat, you cannot say no. You have to say, I'll honor a little. So you take a small piece, put it in your mouth, offer obeisances, go ahead. So that's the standard. You cannot say no to Mahaprasad. Favorable instructions in Krishna consciousness. So Nirmalya, we all know Nirmalya means the flowers, garlands, already offered to the Lord. Then Tasyagre Tandavam. One should learn to dance before the deity. Interesting, है ना? Tasya Agre means Lord's in front of the Lord. Tandavam. So Tandava in our colloquial language means something, because we generally associate that word with Lord Shiva and his Tandav. So we don't recommend violent dancing in temple hall Not that you know twirl around in such a way that 2-3 tooth are broken and 2 limbs are dislocated of somebody, and then you say, "Hey, Prabhu, kya kar rahe ho?" Tasyagre tandavam is written here. One should dance elegantly, just as the way Lord Chaitanya or Prabhupada danced. That's our standard of dancing. We'll discuss all this in detail. How to dance. This will all come. Then Dandavat Natihi. Fifth one.
One should bow down immediately upon seeing the deity or the spiritual master.
Dandavat Natihi. As soon as you see the deity of the spiritual master, full flat on ground. Dandavat. So these are. Now we go again ahead. Abhyuthanam anuvrajya. Gatisthane parikramaha. Archanam paricarya cha. Geetam sankirtanam japaha.
As soon as one visits the temple of Lord Krishna, one must stand up.
Abhyuthanam. So Abhyuthanam happens many times. Anytime a superior comes in contact or the deity comes in procession, for example, not that you have gone to the temple, but it happens as soon as you see the Lord appearing, you stand up. Abhyuthanam. Then comes Anuvrajya.
When the deity is being born or a stall in the street, the devotee should immediately follow the procession. In this connection, it may be noted that in India, especially in Vishnu temples, the system is that apart from the big deity who is permanently seated in the main area of the temple, there is a set of smaller deities which are taken in procession in the evening.
Utsava Murti.
In some temples, it is the custom to hold a big procession in the evening with a band playing and a nice big umbrella over the deities, who sit on decorated on the cart or palanquin,
Or elephants.
which is carried by devotees. The deities come out onto the street and travel in the neighborhood while the people of the neighborhood come out to offer prasad. The residents of the neighborhood all follow the procession, so it is very nice scene. When the deity is coming out, the servitor in the temple put forward the daily accounts before them. So much was the collection, so much was the expenditure. The whole idea is that the deity is considered to be the proprietor of the whole establishment, and all the priests and other people taking care of the temple are considered to be the servants of the deity. This system is very, very old and is still followed. So therefore it is mentioned here that when the deity is on the stroke, the people should follow behind.
Anuvrajya. Anuvrajati. To go behind the deity as soon as the deity comes in the procession. Then next item. Gatihi sthane parikramaha.
A devotee must visit a Vishnu temple at least once or twice every day, morning and evening. In Vrindavan, this system is followed very strictly. All the devotees in town go every morning and evening to visit different temples. Therefore, during these times, there are considerable crowds all over the city. There are about 5,000 temples in Vrindavan city. Of course, it is not possible to visit all the temples, but there are at least 1 dozen very big and important temples which were started by the Goswamis and which should be visited.
So, fortunately, we have 3 temples in Pune, and they are at least 25 kilometers apart from each other. But we should at least mentally visit. One of the ways to visit is also to do Manasa Parikrama. So if you have gone to Vrindavan and have visited the 7 temples, so every morning, just after taking bath, putting tilak, also during maybe you are chanting, you actually go and visit. Okay, so Anuvrajya and then Parikrama, next item.
One must circumambulate the temple building at least 3 times. In every temple, there is an arrangement to go around the temple at least 3 times. Some devotees go around more than 3 times, 10 times, 15 times, according to their vows. The Goswamis used to circumambulate more than
Hare Krishna. Prabhupada.
one should also circumambulate the whole Vrindavan kingdom.
Hare Krishna. So, Parikrama is an important aspect. So, one can do Parikrama of the temple, one can do Parikrama of the whole compound community, or even Govardhan and all the dhamas, Navadvip Parikrama, Vrindavan Parikrama, etc. Yes.
Here it says 3 times, but in the lecture they were said 4 times. Every time there is different.
Yeah, so at least 3 times.
Balaji temple is done 4 times.
Yeah, some sannyasi said that 4 times is the standard. Prabhupada says 3, so we follow the main boss. Yeah, I think 4 is also good. More the better. But the point I'm making is, what is this circumambulating thing? It has a great impact. If a child wants something from the parents, you know what it does? Go round and round, round and round. मेरे को चाहिए. Go. बोलते यार कितना तक कर रहे हैं? Say take it and go. You know. So there is a story of a Vyadha, a hunter, who was about to kill some rabbits. And one of the small rabbits came and started going round and round, round and round his feet, as if very lovingly. And this Vyadha, he melted in his heart, seeing this. And he let go of that rabbit. I said, nahi marenge. Kyun marna hai? He's taking so much shelter. So this was observed by one Vaishnava Acharya. And he fainted. He said, my God, even the heart of a cruel hunter becomes so dravita, melted because of the gesture of Sharanagati. How much, our little Sharanagati must be melting the heart of the Lord. And how glorious the Lord is. That mood he fainted. So these are some effects of parikrama. Not only you think about that person constantly in your mind, when physically you are around them, you go round and round. Like we do with our spiritual master. As soon as he appears, everybody trying figure out some way to sneak in and get a glance, thumb touch and some exchange or something like that. Becomes a headache sometimes, especially for guest reception devotees. But what to do? That's the nature of that service. Okay. Then the next item, please read.
One must worship the deity in the temple according to the recurring principles.
So that's about Archanam. Then comes Paricharya.
Offering arti and puja, decorating the deity, etc. These things must be also directly prior.
Correct. And then Paricharya means?
One must render personal service to the deity.
Then Gita means?
One must sing.
Sankirtana means?
Perform Sankirtan.
And Japam.
One must chant.
So what is the difference between singing and Sankirtan? Singing is bhajans and other songs. Sankirtana is holy name. So, okay. And Japam. One must chant. Vidyapte stava pathascha Swado naivedya padyayoho Dhupamalyadi saurabhyam Shrimurte sprushtir ikshanam. So Vidyapti, one must offer prayers. Like we have Sakhi Vrunde Vidyapti. Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Preyasi. That song is called Sakhi Vrunde Vidyapti. So that is submission of or appeal of wanting to render service is called Vidyapti. So that type of prayer is a specific type of prayer. Then there is Tava Patha, which is another type of prayer. What is Tava Patha?
One must recite notable prayers.
Like Vishnu Sahasranam, Brahma Samhita. So that is called Stava Patha, where you are doing glorification of the Lord. Suvarana Varana Hemango Varangas Chandanangadi. So all that intoxicating stuff that is there, in our scriptures. One has to make one's tongue completely purified by that kind of recitation. Then favorite instruction.
One must taste Mahaprasad, food from the very plate offered before the deity.
Rivo. Swado Naivedya Padyayoho. Padyayo means one must drink.
One must drink Charnamrit, water from the bathing of the deities, which is offered to guests.
So Naivedya and Charanamrut. पता नहीं हमने आज तक कितना कंज्यूम किया है. Lots actually. We are strict Rupanugas in this sense.
One must smell the incense and the flower offered to the deity.
Dhupa Malyadi Saurabhyam. So Dhupa, the incense, and malya, flowers offered to the saurabhyam, one should smell them regularly.
One must touch the lotus feet of the deity.
Shri Murte sprushtir, and
One must see the deity with great devotion.
ikshanam, to see the deity with great devotion. बार बार देखो, हजार बार देखो. So ikshanam. We have that famous story of Ramanujacharya taking Dhanurdas, to give him darshan of Ranganath. You are attracted to the beauty of this woman. If I show you eyes even more beautiful than this, what would you do? He said, I'll surrender to that person. And he took him and gave him darshan. Simply by taking darshan through the agency of Ramanujacharya, Dhanurdas had a heart transformation. That is the power of simply glancing properly, with affection to the form of the Lord. So, few next items. Aratri kotsavadescha Shravanam tat krupekshanam Sprutir dhyanam tatha dasyam Sakhyam atmanivedanam.
One must offer arti
Aratrika.
at different times.
One must
One must hear about the Lord and his pastimes from Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita and similar books.
Shravanam
One must pray to the deity for his mercy.
tat krupa apekshanam
One must remember the deity.
Smrutir
One should meditate upon the deity.
dhyanam
One should render some voluntary service.
dasyam
One should think of the Lord as one's friend.
sakhyam
One should offer everything to the Lord.
atmanivedanam.
One should offer a favorite article such as
Yeah, we'll come to that. Nija priyo paharanam cha Tadarthe akhila cheshtitam Sarvatha Sharanapattis Tadiyanam cha sevanam.
one should offer a favorite article such as food or a garment.
So what you like, that you offer to Krishna. So if you like wearing very nice dresses, you start making nice dresses for Krishna. If you like eating particular type of foodstuffs, you offer them to Krishna. Nija priya upaharanam cha. Give that as a gift to Krishna. And then tad arthe akhila cheshtitam.
One should take all kind of risk and perform all endeavors for Krishna's benefit.
And sarvatha sharanapattis.
Every condition one should be surrendered to.
Yes, one should be a surrendered soul. There is one item that is missing here, and that is tadiyanam cha sevanam. Tadiya means anything that is engaged in the service of the Lord. So tadiya can mean the maha garments of the Lord, the jewelry that is. So that also sevanam. Sevanam means one accepts them and worships them also. If you ever get such articles, tadiya. Tadiya also means the devotees of the Lord. They are also part of the paraphernalia of the Lord. So one should respectfully deal with them as well. Tadiyas tulasi shastra Mathura Vaishnavadayaha Yatha Vaibhava Samagri Sadgoshti Bhir Mahotsavaha.
In every condition one should be surrendered. One should pour water on the
Tadiyas tulasi. So one should worship Tulsi Maharani. So तदीय कौन कौन है वो बता रहे तदीया नाम च सेवनम में. So तदीय कौन कौन है? तुलसी है, शास्त्र है, मथुरा है, वैष्णव है, आदयः means there are a lot of others. Then
one should regularly hear Srimad Bhagavatam and similar literature.
so that is Shastra Sevanam. So daily hearing Srimad Bhagavatam class, etc. Then
One should live in a sacred place like Mathura, Vrindavan or Dwarka.
so that is also Tadiya, Mathura. Then
One should offer service to Vaishnavas.
Vaishnavadaya. So Tadiyanam cha Sevanam includes Tulsi, Shastra, Mathura, Vaishnava and many more. So this is what the discussion is.
One should arrange one's devotion service according to one's needs.
Yatha Vaibhava Samagri. So if we have 10 crore rupees, then our worship standard should reflect that. If we earn 10,000 rupees a month, our worship standard should reflect that. Not that, you offer chana putana to Krishna while you are having chappan bhog. So that is not appropriate. Yatha vaibhava samagri sad goshtibhir mahotsavaha. Next item.
In the month of Kartik, October and November, one should make arrangements for special service.
Oh, I'm sorry. So Sad Goshtibhir Mahotsavaha means Yatha Vaibhava, one should offer samagri. Yatha Vaibhava Sad Goshti, one should participate in arranging for satsanga, and also Mahotsavaha, celebrate festivals for the deity. So Yatha Vaibhava Samagri Sad Goshtibhir Mahotsava. One should bring devotees together in satsanga, Sad Goshtibhir, and then celebrate festivals as much as one can afford to do so. Now, Urjadaro Visheshena Yatra Janmadinadishu Shraddha Visheshatah Pritir Shri Murterangri Sevane.
In the month of Kartik, October and November, one should make arrangements for special service.
Urja Vrata Adaro. Make special arrangements to respect those months very nicely. Visheshena. Then
During Janmashtami, the time of Krishna's appearance in this world, one should observe a special service.
Yatra Janma Dinadishu. So some Vishesh special service one should offer. Vishesha Yatra. Then
One should do whatever is done with great care and devotion for the deity.
Shraddha Visheshataha Pritihi. So not only with faith, but whatever we are doing, we should do with as much affection as we can for. So every time you begin your say deity dressing. So what is the prayer before deity dressing? Oh Lord, may I begin this worship, dressing, offering bhoga, etc. with great care and attention. May I pay attention to details. May my service be pleasing to you. If I commit any offenses, please forgive me. Give me the intelligence how I should dress you for your pleasure. And the result of this devotional service be more devotional service. May I come back again and again to you to dress you nicely. So this is the prayer. So that is called Shraddha Visheshatah Pritihi. We are just not going, okay, kapade utaro. Start pouring water and doing things, mechanically. So Shraddha Visheshatah Pritir. And then last item was Shri Murtir Angri Sevane. One should do whatever one is doing with great care and attention, devotion for the deity. Now these are the 40. So we saw 20, then we saw 40 now. So total 60. Now come the last 5, the last 4 ones. Srimad Bhagavata Arthanam Asvado Rasikaihi Saha Sajatiyashaye Snigdhe Sadhau Sangasvato Vare Nama Sankirtanam Shri Mathura Mandale Sthitihi Anganam Panchakasyasya Purvam Vilikhitasya Cha Nikhila Shraishtya Bodhaya Punarapi Atra Kirtanam. So he's saying, I have already described these 5 items. We saw the Shastra study, we saw the association with devotees, we saw so many things. But he says, I want to really emphasize these 5 items. So I'm going to mention them once again as the best amongst all. So, first one.
One should release the pleasure of Bhagavatam reading among devotees and not among outsiders.
So Srimad Bhagavata Arthanam Aswadaha Rasikaihi Saha. So Rasika means, technically it means connoisseur of pleasure. So Rasika. So one who has a standard of enjoyment. He does not stoop below that standard of enjoyment. It's called Rasik. So in the same manner, the spiritualists especially have the standard of devotional service through which they relish particular rasa, and they don't stoop down themselves to lower forms of enjoyment. They are called Rasika. Just like the Chatak Pakshi will only drink water from the Swati Nakshatra rain that comes directly from the cloud. And there may be an enormous quantity of water in the lakes, rivulets, rivers around it. It will not touch that water because it touched the ground. बेचारे का पतन हो गया. Whatever. I don't know what he thinks in his mind. But this is called Chatak Pakshi's behavior. Similarly, a devotee has his own standard. That he will look only towards Krishna, Guru, Vaishnavas, and through them, whatever forms of devotional engagements and happiness comes, he will delight in that. Sometimes it happens that the clouds don't give water, they give thunderbolt. That poor Chatak Pakshi, it's a shock of his life. But still he looks up for that enjoyment. So that is how one should relish pleasure of Bhagavatam amongst such rasikas who don't stoop down their standard of enjoyment to other things. Especially in hearing also, there is a standard of what we speak and what we hear. Even in ISKCON, there may be somebody having a special service of preaching to very newcomers and bring them in the fold of ISKCON and all that. So they may speak so many hundreds of things, bridging topics we call them. But when it comes to our own personal practice and nourishment, we should be very careful that that should not be the dominant type of hearing. The actual hearing is Krishna Katha, Nama Rupa, Guna Leela, Varnanam. So that will help us in advancing rapidly. So especially Bhagavatam, of all scriptures. What is that? Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam. This Bhagavatam is the book that is most dear to the Vaishnavas. No book comes to the closeness of the standard of Bhagavatam. And then comes what kind of devotees one should associate with. Rasik bol diya, lekin other qualities. So Sajatiya.
One should associate with is considered more advanced.
Yeah, Sajatiya means like-minded. Snigdha means affectionately disposed towards us. Then Swatovara means more advanced. So such sadhu sangaha one should take to. So Rasika, Sajatiya, Snigdha and Swatovara. These are the four qualities we should look for in especially selecting Shiksha Diksha Gurus and association quality of our friends. Then comes 43.
One should chant the holy name of the Lord.
Nama Sankirtanam.
One should live in the jurisdiction of
Mathura Mandale Sthitihi. Last item. Oh, sorry, we completed them. So Bhagavatam, Sadhu Sangha, Nama Kirtan, Mathura Mandal. Which one we missed out? Deity worship, which was earlier. So deity worship had that long discussion. All these items that we talked about, I think 22 onwards. Or rather all these items in between from 21 to 59. They are almost all centered around deity. All of them practically. They are all centered around the deity. So that forms the prominent aspect. So just having deity, we tend to accomplish so many items. So that's why especially for Grihasthas, Brahmacharis, they have a facility where if they want to, they can be in constant touch with the deity. And every service is, whatever they are acting in, is in some way or other directly related to the deity in the temple. So we have to bring a similar situation in our lives. So deity worship. So now comes the conclusion of all this discussion. The 64 items should include all activities of our body, mind and speech. As stated in the beginning, the regulative principle of bhakti enjoins that all our senses must be employed in the service of the Lord. Exactly how they can be thus employed is described. Now, Srila Rupa Goswami will give evidence for all of these items. So that is how the next chapter begins, evidence regarding devotional principles. So So just to go back and summarize. So we have 20 primary items, 44 additional items. In that there are first 10 which are pravrutti, next 10 which are nivrutti. This pravrutti strengthen our foundation of pure devotional service. These are most essential items. Why? Because Guru introduced one to all the other items of sadhana bhakti. The first one guides him in their application. Thus without the first 3 items, execution of remaining 61 is not possible. And the nivrutti items, without avoiding this, devotional foundation will be corrupt and decay. So the last 5 items, uniquely effective in reawakening bhava bhakti. Deity worship. It's very easy to remember. A, B, C, D, D. So A for association, B for Bhagavatam, C for chanting, D for deity worship, and D for Dhama, Dhamavas. So A, B, C, D, D. That's how we easily remember. So I am telling you now only, in the exam, these 2 questions are going to come. First 3 most important, what are they? And which are the 5 most effective items. So if it asks most effective items, there are 5. And if it asks the primary importance items, there are 3. Which are the first 3. So any comments or questions? Yes, we will go through every one of them elaborately. But I am just asking about the concept of the structuring of the items or any other issue. So one interesting observation I made in my life is when you come to temple and do full morning program, you cover almost 48 out of the 64 items in one go. But if you stay home and if you don't have a proper morning program, then you cover maybe 6 or 8. So that's a generic observation. And that's why we request all of you to make it a policy, because you are learning Bhakti Shastri, to weekly once attend full morning program. So morning program basically consists of Mangalarti, Japa, Guru Puja and Bhagavatam. So you may do like this. You come 2 days. Saturday you come and do only Mangalarti and Japa, go home. And Sunday you come do Guru Puja and Bhagavatam, go home. Possible? Or you can even spread it on 4 days. One day you come for Mangalarti, one day you come for Japa, one day you come for Guru Puja, one day you come for Bhagavatam. Whichever way. See what more concession can anybody offer? But this is minimum that we are supposed to be doing. So I request everyone to take this seriously. It is not just matter of, I got to know the 64 items, How many of them are we practicing? And the easiest way to practice them is to attend temple morning program, at least once a week. And then create a similar system in the neighborhood where 4 or 5 devotees come together and actually participate in all these 64 items.
Roughly those who are babies at home, they must be doing the morning program, so will they be following most of these?
I don't know how many of the devotees who have a deity at home have a proper morning program. That's an assumption. Maybe they do have a arti and japa, but what happens in temple? It's an elaborate thing. For example, Anuvrajya, going behind the deity, Parikrama. In our home, where is Parikrama? Many times we can't do it. But we just by default do those things. We are not even conscious that it happened just now. So, at home also we should have a standard morning program. And at least have something doable that we can all live by. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu ki jai, Shri Rupa Goswami Pada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.